So welcome back to Type 5. And I've got MoneyThelo and the Hersh man with us. And yeah, it's been a freaking stressful weekend for everyone in the quarterfinals. I think most South Africans and New Zealanders, even the Irish, pull their hair out of their heads. Everyone's suffering from hangovers, and Irish suffering from depression because they were basically together, standing tall back to the airport in line. So, you know, um, what can we say? There was a lot that happened over the weekend, and there's a lot that's going to be happening in this week. So, without further ado, I just want to get Paul MoneyThelo's take on the New Zealand versus Ireland game. What did you think about that game, MoneyThelo?
Well, first of all, the ref made some shocking calls and shocking decisions, and things should have went the Irish way. But of course, the Southern Hemisphere always gets favored by the referees, especially during these stages. So I'm not shocked by the outcome and the calls that were made as well. So that's what my take is.
Are you are you using drugs?
I'm always getting hated in some form of way, and it makes no sense, but I just speak the truth, and I think the truth of the people as well.
What people are you talking about?
The Irish people know that the ref made some shocking calls, and New Zealand got away with a lot of murder during the game, especially during the breakdown and decision making with forward passes as well. But we'll get into it.
Forward passes. So let me just make this clear, okay? So as you all know, Hirsch is a ref, right? Hirsch knows what he's talking about. Hirsch, let me ask you a question. Is it wrong if the ball is traveling? It's not traveling forward, but with the momentum of relative velocity, right? If if the ball is behind the player, still, right? If the ball is still behind the player that passed it, is it a problem? Is it a forward pass?
I think the only explanation that everybody should know is like if you pass the ball and when it releases your hand, it's backwards. I mean, it's the same thing as a knock on pass. Anything backwards, of course, it will drift because of like Newton's law or all those things. But honestly, if it's out of the hand backwards, it's play on. We all know the ball will drift. But I don't know what Monticello was talking about when it comes to the breakdown, when it comes to favoring Southern Hemisphere. We all know that's just untrue. That is just
Manitelo, I got one thing to say to you. They had 14 men in 20 minutes, and Ireland did nothing with that. There is no excuse for that loss. They must take their loss and fly back to Ireland and eat potatoes over there in that land.
Well, that's where I disagree. The Irish machine was working well, and you could see it in the last bit of the game where we had 37 phases. We had good ball, we were moving forward, but the ref decided to intervene and invade our presence and invade our movements going forward as well. Now, the Irish team and how it works is pretty simple. We have a great backline. We've got Johnny Saxon who moves the ball really well throughout our system. And the legendary Johnny Saxton as well. I can't say the same about New Zealand's Bowden Barrett. So we've got Saxton that moves. We've got Hansen on the wing who does a great job at finishing. And with that level of caliber of athlete and player, why do referees still favor the Southern Hemisphere team? Why do referees favor the forwards of the Southern Hemisphere as well, where the Irish forwards were more dominant, more structured, and the referees still made those calls? No.
can we just
Make a
can we
very
just talk
painful statement, but like I said, we got sent off the field as New Zealand. We were one man down. There was no favoring there. You had all the opportunity to come back as Ireland. You did nothing with it. So, Hirsch, what was your take on that game? What did you see, and how did you feel about that Irish versus New Zealand game?
I don't know how the people work, but I can barely so I'm sitting sounds like too far away. Only person I can do it.
Okay. So
That's much
can
better.
you hear me better now?
Much,
Any
much
better?
better. Yeah,
Much,
it was
Oh,
much better. The whole
great.
from the from when you press record, it was bad.
See. Okay. So yeah, I just wanted to know what's your take on that game with the New Zealand versus Ireland. What did you take from that game? What did you pick up and what did you think of the game as a whole?
I think the one thing that like like Rati said, or like I don't know, now losing against Ireland was not a bad decision. New Zealand coming in like they are just a different animal, especially when it comes to knockouts. They just know how to win games. They play like Aaron Smith, Whitelock, let's say they have been there before, Bowden Barrett. These guys are experienced. They know how to play knockouts. They know how to do things. So I think in the end of the day, like there was there was a lot of nerves from the Irish fans. There was a lot of pressure from them being the number one team in the world. But I think honestly, like the defense of the All Blacks actually won them the game. I mean, there was single phases that has come through from the Ireland team. I think it was like 39 phases with the Indy. I mean, it's ridiculous. And then Whitelock bounced on top of it. I mean, it just defensively, defense definitely won the game for New Zealand. And I think just having points accumulating every single time, they basically gave them the game.
I think yeah, the defense was phenomenal. I was wondering personally about how the team was structured, especially with the loss of Talea. But yeah, it seems like they pulled it off. Look, it was still a nail biting game. But yeah, look, they managed to pull it off. But I mean, okay, on to the next one. All right. Let's talk about the South African versus French game. How stressful was that game? South Africa versus France. Man, people were going crazy. Telo, what do you think about that game, man? Like what was going on in your mind when you saw what was happening there?
80,000 French fans, and then the millions of French supporters, the French population that was supporting France to make sure that they become the first Northern Hemisphere team to win the World Cup, which should be the case. It was written in the headlines. The story was there.
England won. England won the World Cup.
For 4 years of planning, 4 years of French under 20 dominance. This was a French team that was created decades ago. And unfortunately, we couldn't do it. We could not take the throne from the cheating Quacker Smith, who had his hands down in the ruck, from the knock on that was made by Ibn Etzebeth. He deserved a red card for that head contact. But unfortunately, we are stuck in a rugby game where the Southern Hemisphere always gets favored and always gets their way to go forward. And it's so unfortunate for the game, and that's why we're not growing as a rugby and as a system as well.
Listening to this, what do you have to say about what this man is saying?
I mean, just keep on singing the same song. Or just keep on singing the same song. I mean, South Africa against France. I mean, like after watching like Ireland against New Zealand, I mean, I thought that was epic game. I still think it's probably the best game in the World Cup. But then you see like France against South Africa. That was just intense. I mean, the French team they just came. I mean, the defensive system of South Africa just couldn't do what they normally do by putting down players. They couldn't because it was just going too quickly, and then of course France exposed them um, on the blind side every single time. It was a phenomenal game. I mean, South Africa came back, France scored, South Africa came back, France scored, South Africa came back. Yeah, it was just back and forth. It was like a tennis game. But in the end of the day, you know, was in front of like 80,000 people at the stadium, with a French noise, with every decision that slightly South Africa does. I mean, like for a referee to be in that middle, probably is a privilege, and I think he handled himself quite well. He is human. He has human factors with him. Um, brave calls that he has made. Um, so I think like really rugby won on the day, like what the rugby guy would say, rugby won. But also like South Africa won with the point. So viva la South Africa, viva Springbok, viva.
Yeah, my take on the game, I remember I was talking to you guys, before the game started, and I was saying to you guys, you know, I don't see how France was going to have an answer for the Springboks because the thing for me was, if you ran like head-on attack, I mean, Springboks got one of the best defenses in the world right now in rugby. If you went aerial, that back three, you had Kolbe, you had Arendse, you had Willemse, that's a risk because when you kick the ball, even if it's a long kick or whether it's even midfield like a mid kick, those short kicks. I mean, you have to transition as the French team. You have to transition from defense to attack, all right, or rather from attack to defense. And if you're not quick enough to do that transition, and there's gaps as you're running up. I was like, Kobe is gonna take advantage. Arsenal's they're gonna step the hell out of you and get through those gaps. And I just didn't have an answer for the French. And then when the game actually started, after saying all of that, I was actually shocked at how well the French were doing. And I didn't know what the answer was to penetrate the South African defense. And then they showed it to me. It was just quick ball. That's all it was. It was literally moving.
So, so I want to add on to
Know
that.
something happened. But anyway, what I'm saying is that they just moved the ball out of the rucks quickly because, like we discussed, what happens with the Springboks is that they kick the ball to the opposition, and then they run up to the opposition, and then they knock the opposition over, and then they steal the ball in the rucks. They almost attack with their defense. But if you move the ball out of the rucks quick enough, they can't do that, and that's what the French were actually doing, and it was working.
I'm
And I think
gonna
if
I'm gonna say
yeah,
I'm
yeah,
gonna
I
say this
want to hear what you're going to say about that.
I'm gonna say this to you. Like most of the kicks that South Africa has made was either a kick for the line, out of hand in the 22, the kick for a line, or like Willemse did, catch the ball, call a mark, which we have never seen before in international rugby. I mean, this is just
Thank you.
innovation in another sense. This is innovation. Like you can't buy this. Like the whole world that was watching the game, like, what did Willemse just call? And he's not even the captain. So every kick that was made was contestable. It wasn't just another kick. Cross kick, we play from coast and then we kick it to another coast. Like we ran to the coast and then we kick it. Like it was technically like South Africa came with a mindset of like if we kick we have to make it contestable so we can win it, which we did twice. We scored twice from it. And then also when we do kick it, we kick it out so we can go for a line out. And then also when we do get it, we get it from. Like everything was to make it tight. We want to take out the general play from it. We all knew, we all knew that France was going to come, and they did. They did. South Africa just weathered the storm. That's just what we did. We took it. We also accumulated points during those times that the French was coming into us, and France only scored how much? 3 points in the second half. We scored 10. So if you look at the game in a complete picture, we knew that the French was going to come for us. When we do kick, we contest. We didn't just kick for like space. It was just there was nothing to kick for space. We kick for contest. So that's basically our defense. Yes, is our pride and joy. But there's another element of the South African team that is actually coming through this World Cup, and it's all to do with just like brilliance, the players that we have. So yeah, so I'm just gonna let you guys know that I personally believe that South Africa really came in quite strong in this World Cup with a different mindset.
Yeah, there's
So,
no argument with that. There's no argument with that. They did show up. It was a tight game. Man, a lot of South Africans had no nails left to bite. It was a phenomenal game, and I think it was the most entertaining game that I watched so far in the World Cup, and it's just going to get better from there. So yeah, looking at those two matches, okay, we covered the big ones. Now, and
Whoa,
don't get me
whoa,
wrong
whoa,
on
whoa.
this
I
here,
want to add on to Mike
the
on the
Welsh
first
versus
two.
Argentina game. Let's talk
Wait,
about
wait,
that game.
wait,
What do you think about
wait,
Argentina, and what do you think their
wait,
chances are?
wait. Stop talking. Who like the
So
guy wants to talk?
I want to add on. Can you hear me?
Okay. Yeah.
Can you hear us?
Okay.
Yeah, you.
Matt, can you hear us?
So I want to add on to my France game, right? And what I expected. Okay, so first and foremost, France started off with these short kicks mid-range, which was actually strategically genius. That put South
Yeah.
Africa on their back foot and they had to chase back. Even though we had, now this is what I loved about that, those short kicks had to put both wings in the middle, meaning that there's either going to be one wing that's going to be off, which is either
Mm-hmm.
Chislin or Kirtley, and meaning that there's a
Yeah.
possibility of space. And then what do? We put our forwards there. Played a genius all the way through. So that's why we had that first half dominance. That's why the South African forwards were confused, bewildered, and they didn't know what to do, which we actually tactically ruined their game plan. So we can't look down on what the French did. If the ball went a certain way, or if the ball bounced a certain way, then France would have definitely won that game. And if calls were favored the right way, France would have definitely been in the semi-final and winning the World Cup.
But they're not. But they're not.
We are going to win it at some point. Unfortunately, we
Yeah.
did get robbed, and World Rugby will look at this and obviously make a new call that'll favor the Northern Hemisphere going forward.
Another 4 years for you guys. Another 4 years for you guys.
4 years of planning, 4 years of under 20 championships, and 4 years of a whole new exciting French team.
How was it cast down of Stephen Colby and Ramos?
We did the math on that, by the way. We did the math on that, by the way. Okay, so on average, we said, okay, like a person like Abena or Lomu or one of those greats who really sprint really fast, they're doing about 11 seconds, 100 meters in 11 seconds. So on average, it took him about 2 seconds to get to the 20. That's incredible. That is superhuman almost. Almost 2 seconds, give or take, to get to the 20.
Why did we not get a camera angle of when Cheslin left the
There's so
truck?
many. There's so many videos that have been circulating right now where you could see that Ramos, he moves either his left foot or his right foot, and that's his trigger foot. That trigger foot, I mean, he's standing still. And then when he triggers himself, which he normally does, he triggers with the one foot, and Chelsea was like, I'm going. Boom.
At that speed.
I mean, Chelsea.
That
Yeah,
speed.
so appreciate. Now, come on now. Appreciate it.
No.
I appreciate.
This is superhuman. No.
There's no substitution for space for speed, bro. There's just nothing like that. I'm sorry. It just doesn't happen.
There's no substitute for pace.
Let's go on to the next game. This is unfair in so many factors.
So, on to the next game. All right. The ones that wasn't as big was the game with the Welsh and Argentina, and that was also a tight game. And I gotta say, looking at the Argentinian team, MoneyThelo, do you think that we can just rule them out and say, okay, it's just gonna be a game where it's gonna be South Africa and New Zealand in the finals? Is that what you're thinking? Or do you think now that Argentina has a chance?
You know what? I mean, you got to look at everything, right? It is a World Cup semi-final, first and foremost. And two, Argentina has beaten New Zealand before, obviously in Argentina. But it means that they do have the capabilities of causing an upset. Now, the whole world is probably favoring New Zealand, and obviously justifiably, but Argentina is still a great nation. They've done an amazing job for the past few years to be competitive. And they've proven themselves. They've beaten the Boks once, they've beaten New Zealand, they've beaten Australia numerous times. And they're in the championship, so they're used to New Zealand now. I honestly think if Argentina can sustain themselves in the first half, they can win this game. They just need to make sure they sustain New Zealand quick because they're going to come out of those blocks quickly. Hit them hard, slow them down, play Argentinian rugby, let that ball fall with the forwards. We've got that game. We just need to play smart.
There's something to say about that. Hersh, what do you got to say about this, man?
I mean, like, if we talk about disillusion, if we talk about people that have hope and dreams, uh, and the wrong things in life, I mean, I hope that I will become a millionaire tomorrow. I mean, that's basically what he's trying to say, is that Argentina is gonna beat New Zealand. Like, there's no buts and maybes here. So if buts and maybes, like it's 100%. We all know it's 100% New Zealand. Like the book is like it's probably like 14 million to 1 that Argentina is going to win that game. We know that New Zealand is going to win the game in the first 20 minutes. They will score quick 3 tries in the first 20 minutes. Game done. We know that the Argentinians can't win a game if they are too far behind. And this is what I said. Wales should have accumulated as much penalties against the Argentinians, scored as much points. They should have never gone into the second half 10-6. Never. Never, ever, ever give La Pumas a chance. They bounce on that. They love that. They're a very emotional Latina side. You know what I mean. So what you want from New Zealand is to get as much points on top of them as quickly as possible. Game is done. Put up your TV. Go play with your friends. Go do something. Argentina is not going to win this game. It is impossible. I mean, I bet I'll put all my money into the bank account and I'll say, boom, New Zealand for a win. And you know what the score is going to be? Wait, no, let me finish. New Zealand's going to win this game by 30 points.
No.
30 points or more. Straight
Yeah.
up.
Michael Checker, the great Michael Checker, who's done a fantastic job with Australia. He knows New Zealand like the back of his hand. He's played them so many years. And he's now built an Argentinian team that's made its way all the way to the semi-finals of the Rugby World Cup. That's an amazing outcome for Argentina. And you really think in the semi-final of the World Cup, Argentina's just going to low down and take 30 points? Come on.
Yeah.
Look at what we've
I mean, they have no choice. They have no choice. They're going to have to take it. They have no choice. They just have to take it. 30 points up against them.
This is pure Southern Hemisphere confidence, delusional confidence that makes no logical sense. And we are going to take it. This is going to be an Argentina win. And we are making our way to the final. Now I know we're going to take it.
Okay. Well, all I can say to you, MoneyThelo, is that I can't help but agree with both of you in a sense where when Hersh says you have to punish the Pumas early, you have to. If you let them gain that momentum, you will suffer. So for me, it's like I know the All Blacks will not allow that to happen. But I have to agree, if you think about that mentality, the Pumas are here now, and they're not thinking, all they're thinking in their head is, we made it this far. Why can't we take the whole thing? What's stopping us? Who are these people to stop us from taking the whole thing?
All Blacks.
Well, hold on. The All Blacks. But we've also seen the All Blacks actually make so many mistakes and give away so many penalties that they lose their own game. Look at the France game. And if they don't, and we still have discipline errors, that is why we had 14 men in the last 20 minutes against Ireland. So my thing is that if they don't sort their discipline problems out, it's not guaranteed that they'll meet with anybody in the finals. They need to sort that out. And Michael, don't underestimate the underdogs because they have nothing to lose. They have everything to gain. So they will give it their all. And I saw what that Argentinian fly-off did in the game against the Welsh. He freaking kicked that. He almost kicked the whole field. That's what he did. So they got no problem in the kicking department. So if you want to give away penalties, they will punish you for it. So that's been the All Blacks' weakness thus far, is the fact that they continuously give away penalties, and that needs to stop, because if you take that game into the finals, you will lose. So that's my take on that. And then yeah, we're looking at the only Northern Hemisphere team to make it into the semis, which is England, and Uncle Benny was mad as hell. He didn't. He felt like Fiji got cheated. Shanks, you MoneyThelo, you think you seem to think differently. What do you got to say?
Mm. We got to look at what England accomplished 4 years ago as well. They beat New Zealand to make the final. They actually made the final, not the best of English teams, but they were able to make the final. And now they beat Fiji. Fiji is essentially a 2-2 nation. This is still England. Yes, we lost to them before in England, but this is a World Cup final. England had composure. Their dropkick was Farrell. With Farrell, obviously took us forward going ahead. England was composed. They're used to the big game situation. This was a lot for Fiji. I mean, you could see some of their decision making was not used to this level of rugby, right? Knock-ons, bad passes. They were risking it a bit too much, and they were way too physical. Which I understood what they were trying to do. They were trying to break the English spirit, but what they didn't know was that strategically, England was able to counter the offensive onslaught and win the game by just playing smart rugby. And that's why we're in the semi-final against a South African team that's going to lose against England as well. So Fiji can't blame the ref, because then we blame the ref for everything. So yeah,
African team that's going to lose against England. Is that what you just said? Oh my word!
Garrett.
Rich, are you listening to this?
I'm sorry, like, I go deaf when I hear bullshit. Sorry, like I go deaf when I hear bullshit. I mean, like, let's be honest, like England, like we all knew England was going to win that game. I was happy that England won that game, and I'll tell you why. Because imagine Fiji beat England. You have New Zealand that's through, Argentina that's through, and Fiji that's through, and then you have South Africa to play against France. There needs to be at least one Northern Hemisphere team to go through. Do you think I want to sacrifice my spot for the semi-final? Hell no. So we needed that one English team to go through. England has not been looking good. They actually have been getting stronger and stronger, but the pool stages, the teams that they've been playing, isn't that good. Argentina is not at the same tier level as your France, New Zealand, South Africa, Ireland. So unfortunately, we had three final games in the quarterfinals. Pool A and Pool B. Pool C and D, they don't have the same standard in intensity and the squad to dominate in the World Cup like South Africa, New Zealand, France, and Ireland. So I honestly think it's going to be I think England wants to have revenge against us as a team, but they won't be able to. But one thing I want to do say about Fiji, and I want you guys to really listen to this. I've never ever seen a more disappointing Fiji side to be knocked out of a World Cup. There is some sense of belief in the Fiji camp that they can achieve greatness. There's some sense of belief they can actually dominate and win games against the so-called tier one nations. I mean, they did beat England before the World Cup. They lost against England. They felt like they could have won that game. I mean, we all can feel like Fiji can dominate and do stuff. And I feel like the next World Cup that's coming up in Australia, they will definitely be contenders. I hope that they will get part of the championship, rugby championship with South Africa, New Zealand, and Argentina. South Africa, Argentina, New Zealand, and Australia. So I hope they get part of that, because these tier two nations that is showing progress, like your Portugal, your Uruguay, they need more game time. They need more exposure. World Rugby needs to do something, because we can't allow teams to come in and play in you get like a 80-0 or 85. We can't do that. But with Fiji, like I really love what the belief that they have right now. And think England have the belief that they can beat the Springboks? No. It's a simple no. Simple no.
Sounds
Yeah,
What do
so
you think?
personally, I felt like, I really wanted the Flying Fijians to win. And it looked like they had everything in the toolbox to win. And I just felt like the ref was messing that game up, like proper. What was good for one team wasn't good for the other. I was getting pissed off. And yeah, it's just unfortunate that the Fijians had to go home because they also play a very entertaining brand of rugby. That running freestyle, I love it. So to see them go, it was really, it wasn't the best thing. But look, England, it gives the Northern Hemisphere hope that at least one team got into the semi-finals. So yeah, let's just see what happens from there. But I'll be honest with you, I don't see England going anywhere from their point right now. I think South Africa is just gonna knock them out, and that's gonna be the end of them. They're done.
Look, South Africa is just a different animal, right? I mean, I know I'm a South African and everything, but when you look at like South Africa, you basically have Jesse Krill and Kaden Moody. And Kaden Moody is only 20 years old and he's playing the way that he plays rugby right now. It's phenomenal. Then you have like we just have players in every position. Like we can literally put a different team on the field and they can still bring the same intensity. And that's exactly what South Africa did against France when they brought in the subs. It was intensity. We needed it. South Africa needed that intensity to keep on going against the French. And I think like that's just the squad depth that we have in South Africa. And like I said it so many times, like we're the New Zealand team. There's something that South Africa is doing right, and it all happened since we joined the URC. We have so many players at our disposal, So thanks to the URC, thanks to Australia for wanting us out of the Super Rugby. We appreciate it, and we'll continuously win the World Cup. So we
So,
want to let you guys know.
so I'm not sure about that, but I am sure about one thing that's quite interesting. Will South Africa field a different team for England? Because now they didn't play Jasper Wiese against France, but you can play him against England because he does play in the English league for, I believe, Leicester. And then you can get Esther Hayes in the place, Harlequins as well, and Moody. Will they field a whole new team for England in the semi-final, or will they stick with their current team?
Max, you want to take this one?
I think that they are going to switch up the team because obviously, if I'm betting, if I'm thinking, Rassi is a tactical genius. Everybody knows that, and I'm if Rassi is always thinking 10 steps ahead, so he's not only thinking about this game, he's thinking about the final as well because he's confident in his team, and I don't blame him because look, I'm not a box supporter, but I feel like they are they have what it takes to get into the final. I think their biggest challenge so far has been the French team. I don't think England is going to do what the French did to them. So for me, it's like I feel like Rassi is going to play a different team because he's going to save the best for last. That's what he's going to do. If he plays the same team, it's going to be a first half type of thing, and then they're out because he wants to save the best. Rassi's thinking final. I know he's thinking final. So that's what my viewpoint is on that. I don't know whether you agree with me, Hersh. What do you think?
I think like consistency is key. Uh, I do think though he's going to change personality to playoff. He's going to put get Pollard in. I think he's going to start on Pollard. I think we're going to play a 6-2 split um, against England. I definitely do think we're going to do 6-2 split. I would be even surprised if we do a 7-1 split against England because physically we can dominate England. So, but I do feel like giving Andre Pollard a go at fly half in the semi-final will definitely be a plus for us, but also like Mani deserves to be in the final, I mean semi-final. I mean, that guy has just been with the amount of pressure he gets from the South African public itself and world rugby, like it is just phenomenal for him to just bounce back every single game. And he just keeps on improving. I mean, out of hand kicking, his running style, his attacking ability, and he defends. I don't think he actually missed a tackle against the French. He took every single tackle in that game. So, but I do think that South Africa will peak here and there. But I think maybe like for a starting lineup, maybe like three players that will maybe even go on the bench, like Vermeulen will go on the bench, or maybe he will even play. But you do need consistency. You can't go major on when it comes to like you can technically you can change the way you play against teams, but I do think personnel is only when it comes to injuries, and I don't think we have sustained any major injuries in the game. John?
Considering that England is a physical team, I would think that Rassie would say, you know what, I don't want to risk certain players getting injured. Yes, you've got that depth. You've got really nice depth in the team. And, if somebody goes, there is somebody to fill that place. But, you want your best team in the final. So I think he will give them a run. But I don't think it's going to be a thing where he's going to play them all out in the English game. I don't think it's going to happen like that.
There's no final if you don't play your best in the semis. Like you have to. And the thing is like if someone do get injured, he's replaceable. None of those players believe that they're irreplaceable. I mean, we have, like I said, we have so many players in every position. You are only renting your spot. It's a privilege to play for that jersey. To play for South Africa, it's a privilege. You don't have no right to occupy that jersey. You are there because you have played well, you've done your job, but it's not because of just your name. Your name is not important. The way you play for that jersey is important.
But considering that they've got 33 men to choose from, and only certain people in the 33 can fill certain positions, you gotta be a bit smart with how you're gonna handle losses of players and that sort of thing. And England is a team that plays physically. So if I was Rassie, which I'm not, I would be conservative with the way I use my players simply to save them from the war, save them for the final. But that's just my take on things. I don't know,
The good,
MoneyThelo, you seem to be
the good thing you're not
calculating and thinking there. I don't know what you're up to there. Well, what's going on?
So my take on it is that we'll only find out when Rassie puts his team out. But from an English point of view, we will probably have Farrell leading it. We'll have our great youngster at fullback. And we've got a good combination with our forward pack with Carl Sinclair and Genge as well. So we've been playing with each other for so many years. Yes, we've gone through some hard times. English rugby has taken some constraints financially and with the level of rugby as well. But we are on the uphill. Townsend was an amazing coach for Leicester, and that's why he got selected for England, and that's why we are in the semi-final. Yeah, the pool stages were easier for us to make it all the way to the top. Yes, I do agree. But in the end, we're there. We're in the semi-final. I can 100% guarantee you, Itoji and that England team will not go down without a fight.
Yeah. Let them fight. It's fine. Let them fight. Let them fight. I mean, we didn't say we're gonna play against like people that just lying there. Fine. But will it be enough? No. It's not gonna be enough.
Always need.
Yeah, and that other point you were on talking about Lebok, that's another point, because I mean, people are not talking about how well he's been playing. I mean, think about it, put it into perspective. He was thrown in the deep end when he had to play. There was nobody but him. It was his first time in a World Cup, and look at how well he's done. Amongst all the swearing that people gave him and the bad critique, look at how well he's done. That guy he's actually, if you look at it in a broader perspective of things, he's done really well, I think. Lebok.
Mid-bok.
The camera, bro. The camera. Upside down. Or sideways or
Return your
something.
camera. There
Average
you
at
go.
best. Nothing special.
It's okay. Your comment is irrelevant to me anyway, so it doesn't matter. What do
We're
you guys
gonna
think?
win.
What so who do you guys think is going to be the referee for the I mean, we're running out of time, but like, who do you guys think is going to be the referee for the New Zealand Argentina game, South Africa and England game? I think South Africa is going to get a French referee. We're going to get a French referee.
Ooh. Ooh.
I have a feeling. I have a feeling they're going to do this year. I
My
think
man
South
for
Africa
sure.
should be more afraid of the ref than anything else. That's what I think. If they're going to lose, it's the ref. There's a Yeah, it's going to be bad.
I mean, New Zealand against Argentina is probably going to be probably Wayne Barnes probably again. So there's going to be consistency for that. Wayne Barnes is definitely going to rest there. I don't think Wayne Barnes rests South Africa games after actually the amount of abuse he got the last time against us. Um, but yeah, like I don't maybe Benno keep again. You never know. 'Cause, I mean, he didn't do such a bad job. So those
If
could be
you're
the
a,
referees. You have to fight it out.
if you're a South African referee of a supporter, then of course Ben O'Keefe didn't do a bad job. If they lost, then you would have just heard, oh, Ben O'Keefe was the
Uh,
worst.
I would have blamed something else. I would have said substitutions was a bit too early. Um, we could have just kept on going with the guys for like at least another 5 or 10 more minutes. But Ben O'Keefe, he did a really good job. That's what I think.
Honest, guys. I mean, the refs have had a really large bearing on games so far. I mean, some
Yeah.
of them actually determine some teams' fates. Fiji, for example. I mean, it's just the way it is, you know. Unfortunately, there's human error involved and that sort of thing. So we can't rule that out as well. I
Hey,
know
it's
everybody
not
wants to talk about, oh,
it's not
it's
human error.
definitely New
No,
Zealand's. Yeah.
Matt, let me say this. This is not human error. The refereeing has been appalling. Like we're talking about standards. We're talking about a bunker. There's so many situations in this game that has just been like where I could blatantly say, I mean, there was one tackle. I think it was the Fiji game, or the play was tackled. His knee touched the ground. The tackle was completed according to the law book. The player got up and went to go score. Where was the TMO for that? Where was the bunker for that situation? You know what I mean? Like, I feel like production system when it comes to like showing incidents is more for the teams, the Northern Hemisphere. Like, I'm being honest right now. Like the tier two nations have been struggling, and yeah, Uruguay and Portugal they are from the northern, but they're still considered tier two nations, so they don't get they don't get the benefit. But Samoa and Fiji, they have been simply been robbed in so many games. Like it is appalling to see. So when you have referees coming through and refereeing the quarterfinals and semifinals, I mean Ronaldo, I mean I didn't watch the first half, but from consensus of a lot of people, like there were so many decisions that where he could have given with a Koje, where he puts his hands like he's slowing the ball down. England wants the ball to be slowed down. Fiji wants to speed it up. Referees need to understand teams come with a concept of how they want to play the game. Guys, we need to understand this. Fiji wants to play quick. They want to unsettle the break. They want to unsettle the defensive system. And here comes England, put their hands on the ball. It's already rough. But I told you just comes and slow the ball down. That's already 2 seconds gone. Or 1.5 seconds gone. That is fast enough. That is important, that second. But see, referees don't understand that concept. And I feel like sometimes these referees have never played rugby before. They don't have the empathy. They don't understand what's happening. They're just cooking through some of these referees.
I don't know if you want to say something, MoneyThelo. It looks like you got something in your mind.
Every referee looks at the game from their own point of view, from the country they come from, because that's what they're used to. Of course, if you're looking at the game from a Southern Hemisphere game and point of view, you're going to look at the ref making bad decisions. But if you look at some of the best referees in the world, like Romain Poitras, who's from France, we're looking at people that look and judge the game in a certain manner and probably what I deem to be the right manner. So I completely disagree with the way Ms. Hersh over here has speaking about the game, speaking about referees and the way they look at the game. Because we do have a TMO, we've got technology. Times have changed and we use it at the right time for the right decisions. The only time where I can say a referee did a shocking job was against France for South Africa when they clearly favored. And I believe the referee Ben O'Keefe is probably Australian, so it makes sense as well, right? So I'm not shocked by that. Cool. Oh, even better. There we go. That sums it up.
How is it better? How is it even better? Bro, like Ben O'Keefe has like done South Africa wrong in the past before, and we actually gave him the stick for that, and he got abused for that. So, like, if anything, it would have probably been against us. Ben O'Keefe just refed a really good game, I think. I mean, it was 8 out of 10 for me personally. He managed players out of situations very well. I don't think people understood what he did well. I mean, the players was lying on the wrong side, but the ball was available. He managed it. He's like, ball's available, just play. He did really well, guys. Like, honestly, for a semi-final, the game played. He did not. I think he gave 7 penalties against South Africa. I think he probably blew like less than 14 penalties in the whole game. That's unheard of in international rugby. Come on, guys. Like, that's great rugby. Our time is almost done, eh? Yo, it's like 46 minutes, so we could call it.
So my take on the refs is that, and just to end it off, I just feel like, what, they have had a large amount of influence on games, which they've always had. And this is why big teams can't always be so sure of their outcomes against small teams, even because a ref's element can determine a lot. So let's just see what's going to happen in this week. It's going to be an interesting week in the semifinals. I've heard your thoughts about things, both of you, and you've heard mine. So yeah, now it's all about now seeing, have what we predicted, is what we predicted actually going to happen? And it's hard to say, especially with the Springbok team, because Rassie does always expect the unexpected from Rassie. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting one. And guys, all I'm going to say is that you better hold thumbs for South Africa and New Zealand, because it would be really nice to see them in the final again. But yeah, we're just going to have to see. So yeah, that's it from members of Type 5, and we'll catch you next week. Cheers, guys.
Olele blue. Olele blue.
Stop the